That's what I asked for. Okay, can both of y'all hear us? Okay, I've got a thumbs up. All right, can both of you do a test real quick? Danielle first, please.
Audio check 1, 2, 3.
I still can't hear Danielle. Okay, but this room can't hear Danielle. So the live feed can hear her, but the people in this room cannot hear her. Art, can you try your volume real quick? Just one, I'm sorry. Just one moment. Art, can you hear us? Can you try speaking? His is frozen. Okay, we lost Art. Give us a moment. There's Art back. Art, can you try your volume?
Can y'all hear me?
All right. Okay, they can hear him on live feed. The back of the room can hear him, but the front of the room, which is the podium, and excuse me, the dais, cannot hear the people from Zoom. Ready for them to try again? If it's just one. Danielle, can you try speaking again, please?
Audio check 1, 2, 3.
In the back of the room here, Danielle, y'all can hear her fine. It's the front of the room. The dais is still having difficulty hearing. We're trying to turn these speakers up front. Okay, they're locked. We can't. Danielle and Art, if y'all would, when y'all speak up, please try to speak very clearly so that maybe it will carry from the back of the room to the front. What if we turn the back of the room speakers? Oh, feedback. Okay, we'll move forward from here. Mayor, ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call to establish a quorum. Ward 1.
Here.
Ward 2.
Here.
Ward 3.
Here.
Ward 4.
Here.
Mayor here. Item 3 on the agenda, this is citizens to be heard. At this time, comments limited to 3 minutes will be taken from the audience from persons who have signed the speaker's card located at the table at the back of the training room for the Service Center and delivered to the city secretary before the meeting begins, or written comments received by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting on any agenda item or any other subject matter will be read and summarized in the minutes of the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council and who have registered using the citizen participation form will have up to 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, council may not discuss or take action on any item that's not been posted on the agenda. While civil public criticism is not prohibited, disorderly conduct or disturbance of the peace is prohibited by law shall be cause for the chair to terminate the offender's time to speak. I have 4 records wishing to be read or speakers to speak at this time. First is Andrew Kane. If you would come and give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Andrew Kane, 2106 Lakeview Drive. We had a citizens committee assembled and meet at least 8 times to suggest changes to our city charter. Those recommendations would be submitted to City Council to consider and act on and bring to the voters at the next election. I assume they suggested a citizen's right to speak so future mayors do not do what our current mayor, Tim Jago, has done. Mayor Jaro's first action last summer was to stop citizens from speaking to their elected representatives before an agenda item at a city council meeting. The Citizens Committee recommended the council add to the charter and let the citizens vote at the next election if citizens should have the right to speak before an agenda item, just like we have done for seems forever. This recommendation was deleted by city staff without a vote or action by the council. What authority does staff have to make these deletions to the Citizens Committee's recommendations? This was done because while in Bastrop, Mayor Jaro stated on record at a public city council meeting that out-of-control citizens, namely Christy Rutledge, had abused and interfered with the council's ability to conduct city business. Mayor Jaro stated Christy Rutledge had spoken at the city council meeting on 19 agenda items and took 57 minutes as fact. If that was the case, yes, that would be abusive and disruptive. The fact is that never happened, not even close to 19 times at a meeting. This statement as fact by the mayor is a lie. She has never spoken on more than 3 to 5 agenda items, and that has only been at a few meetings over several years. In fact, she's only spoken, I think, once since Mayor Jaro has taken office in person, had 2 comments read. Jeff Hutt has spoken maybe 3 times over these same 9 months, and I have not spoken at all until tonight. Mayor Jaro has proven to me that he will even resort to outright hurtful and liable lies about a citizen of Rockport, to the extent he has even exposed the city to a defamation of character lawsuit to silence all citizens of Rockport. Mayor, I challenge you to support your claim that Christy Rutledge ever spoke for 57 minutes on 19 agenda items at a city council meeting. I know dishonest people with an agenda sometimes embellish facts that are now city record by your statements at a public city council meeting, so please provide a time we should have even half or even a third of what you claim to be true. You're lying to the citizens of Rockport and to the council to silence the citizens like no one has ever done before. Sir, that makes you a dangerous tyrant, in my opinion.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Patrick Kane, address 1123 East Cedar Street in Rockport. So I'm asking why the rush? The charter hasn't been updated in years, so why can't we take a few extra months, put it on for a vote later? That way you have time to explain to the citizens why the changes are needed. Do you really believe the Charter Review's Commission's recommendations were perfect and wouldn't benefit from citizen review? One of the commissioners clearly didn't think so. He spoke at the last commission meeting as well as the last city council meeting about concerns he had. Given you not address any of his concerns, you must not think they're a big deal. However, I think it's a big deal when a commissioner states, this is a quote, "Overall, my concern is that the city staff has been given more authority than before, and they're taking these rights away from the city council and the public." He went on to say, "I really feel like that my job was to protect the citizens and give them their rights, and I don't think that I've done my job well." So back to my question, whether you think the commission's recommendations were perfect. Apparently not, because what's on the agenda packet today isn't what was forwarded to you by the Charter Review Commission. So who changed the recommendations? What were the reasons for the changes? Why aren't the council's members' positions on these changes been officially captured by a vote? I'd definitely like to know which council members are in favor of significantly curtailing a citizen's right to speak during a council meeting. I have one last quote from the commissioner. Some of us think we have to run through this like it is a race. It's not a race. It is something we need to do right. Well, council, it's your job to put on the brakes if the citizens' rights aren't being protected. We have time to do it right. Thank you.
Mr. Bob Haynes, you're down to speak. Speaker, I have your record read. Which would you like to do?
This thing working? Can you hear me all right? I'm afraid of these things. But I have a little note here, and I've been requested to say something very honorable about Clayton Research and coastal bend waste. So I'll make it brief. Be advised I'm here to speak on behalf of coastal bend waste owner Clayton Research, CEO. It is my opinion that Aransas County and the city of Rockport and Fulton are fortunate to have such a disposal waste company. I've been a customer of this company for about 8 months and find their service to be prompt and dependable. From its rollout containers to the home office here in Rockport, and they do have a home office. You can't ask for a better operation. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Stephen Cantu, 419 South Fuqua. Good evening. My name is Stephen Cantu. I'm with Rockport Fulton. I am the Rockport Fulton Little League president. I've been associated with Little League for about 16 years now. And these 16 years, I've been fortunate to work hand in hand with the City Parks Department pertaining to the city's agreement with the league. Like most partnerships, there have always been some give and take. I feel at the end of the day, former Parks manager Rick Martinez and Rockport Fulton Little League have always found a way to make things work for both parties. Maintaining and operating a city parks field is no easy feat. Introducing the love of the game of baseball and softball to the youth of Rockport Fulton is the first step in early development. This is the first thing we preach to our volunteer coaches. Above wins and losses, it's about embedding the love of the game. Above all, once you teach a kid the love of the game and to play it the way it's meant to be played, exposes them to so many valuable life lessons. The only tools you need to perform this is one willing to teach and a student willing to learn. Yes, all you need is a patch of grass to do this, but we have been blessed with a state-of-the-art facility. My appeal to this board is to allow Rockport Fulton Little League to add to that facility yet another tool, allowing us to build and maintain 6 batting cages, 2 for each of the 3 main fields. We have done our homework and have 2 different bids that help us with the design and layout of this proposed project. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have now or at the later time. Thank you for your time and God bless.
Okay, thanks for having me. I know a lot of you, can you hear me? I know a lot of y'all are tired of seeing me and hearing me, so I apologize, but thank you for having me one more time. And it's been a bad job on my part, and I take responsibility for not elaborating exactly what coastal bin waste is, where it came from, our background, and our involvement in the community. Personally, me, Aransas County has been in my blood since 1979, and it's one of my favorite places on the planet. And so for that reason, I want to keep it the same way that it's always been, or improve it as we can. One of the concerns I've heard is the capacity and capability of coastal bin waste. Yes, we are a local startup, and yes, we are within our 2.5-year growth period. But my background, and Matt, who's helped me along the way, in my office, we have a much more deep background in waste management and all things. Eagle Ford Water and Disposal is one of my companies, and in that business, we handle oil and gas waste, non-hazardous oil and gas waste. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it's non-haz oil and gas waste. In that company, we have vacuum trucks, 18-wheelers, that haul drilling mud, produced water, flow back, frac fluid, recycled water, and we deep well inject it into reservoirs deep within the earth through deep well injection. Those trucks run 24/7, all day, every day. Those wells run 24/7, all day, every day. Every single load through every truck has to have a transfer of what we call custody. Every manifest has to be labeled, and then I take custody of that load from cradle to grave. I'm sure you've heard that term before. And these are the planet Earth's largest companies happen to be in the Eagle Ford Shale. ExxonMobil, Phillips 66, these are the companies I work for on a daily basis. Fortune 100 companies come and audit us personally and our facilities, truck drivers, driver qualification logs, all these things. The audits are intense and on an annual basis. And for the last 12 years, we have not had a single incident or recordable through the Railroad Commission or TCEQ. And these are not small operations. These are hundreds of trucks of loads of 24/7 operations throughout some of the toughest environment in South Texas. Bad roads, poorly lit roads, congestion, small towns. I mean, that is, to me, has been one of our biggest feats. So the fact that I don't think that we couldn't handle a few more garbage trucks going through the city limits, picking up household garbage, to me seems unreasonable. I mean, we have proven ourselves through this company time and time again. And in addition to that, Rockport Terminals was one of my projects that I was happy to turn the old carbon black plant into something that is now a full-time employer in Aransas County. We handled 10 times the amount of waste that is generated annually in the city of Rockport in a 2-year period at Rockport Terminals. So the volume that we can ramp up and ramp down is amazing. I mean, there is no question of whether or not we can ramp up or ramp down, because we've done it on a 10-time level amount in a 2-year period. Rockport Terminals was one of the single largest private investments in Aransas County in the last 50 years. And Coastal Bend Waste, although it may be one of the smaller companies, the smallest company in this portfolio, for me, it's the one that I'm most passionate about, and I spend most of my time on it because it's the one that I see the most reflection in the community. From when I drive through the communities like Key Allegro or Harbor Island, and we don't see trash cans in the street, and we don't see subservice providers on the roads, this is a business I get that has a low barrier of entry. A man with a pickup truck can effectively do the same job that we do, but they certainly couldn't do the things that we do all day, every day, on a regular basis for Fortune 100 companies. So I know that we can do it better than anyone, and our reputation is on the line because I live here, I work here, and I run into all of you people all the time, and I won't let you down or myself. So thank you for your time. Matt has a little bit more about the history and why we're here, and I'm going to turn it over to him.
Sure. Thanks, Clayton. I think one of the things Clayton mentioned was this is a project we're super passionate about. This picture's from Oyster Fest this last year. So we do every parade we can. We get on the truck and toss out candy, and kids love it. We blow the horn. So I think it's just kind of, this picture kind of envisions, or kind of symbolizes our company to a T. It's like, we just have a lot of fun. We built a great team here. Let's see. So one of the reasons we're here today is, we just generally like to, Clayton said, introduce ourselves, a little bit more about our background. We've talked to each one of you individually, given our thoughts, feedback, input on what we think about the city's contract, as we know, is coming up for renewal. One of the things kind of we'd like to just highlight is we think the city of Rockport's a super diverse community. And a one-size-fits-all trash service may or may not be the best solution. There's full-time residents, there's vacation homes, there's elderly, and then there's plenty of short-term rentals, which we all know is a hot topic in our community. So kind of our question is, how we'd love to, as the city continues to work through this contract and potentially a renewal, we'd love to figure out, is there a solution where you could have a couple different services, one, maybe 2 different services, so that way we can answer some of these needs that a very significant part of our community has on the garbage collection service that right now isn't being met and can't be met by basically any other provider but us that provides these kind of services. A little bit about Coastal Bend Waste. Clayton mentioned Rockport Terminals. We started Coastal Bend Waste when one of our neighbors at Rockport Terminals came to us and said, hey, the guys who's picking up my garbage is going out of business, hasn't picked us up in a month. Still somehow he was paying him. would you guys like to talk? And so we ended up talking with this company and ended up taking over his routes. One of the biggest reasons we did it is because we said, we're doing oil and gas waste, we're doing industrial waste. We think we could do waste better for residential in the county. Had no idea what we were getting into at the time, but you know, we learned very quickly and applied a lot of our trucking company knowledge into residential waste. And so really when we started, we said, we think we can do better. There's 3 pillars. We want to be community focused. So we want to continue to give back into our community. Rockport Little Leagues, it was one of the organizations we gave to last year. We'll be striking them a check again this year to support their organization. We want to provide superior service. For whatever reason, it's the norm for garbage companies to miss pickups. And we hear it time and time again from our customers. You guys are amazing because you picked me up like you did last week and the week before. And of course, that's what we're paid to do. We think we should do that. If you look around garbage companies in Corpus area or in this area, there are not a lot of 5-star reviews. It's mostly sub 3.5-star reviews on Google because most of the time garbage companies don't do what they're supposed to do. And we think we can do better. We know we can do better than that. And then our third pillar really is people first. It's supporting our employees, growing a team locally here. We have a team of 8 right now. We should increase that team to about 15 or 20 over the next year. And we pay 20-30% more than what the average wage is here in this county because we think that if you pay people what they're supposed to be paid, they will support our customers and help support our company. Kind of why we're different here. We're one of the last few local companies in the Rockport, Aransas County area. There's really only one left, and this is like most industries, super consolidating. So you have a lot of these larger companies coming into the area, and we've really been able to compete with some of these larger companies out in the county that happen to also service cities in these areas. So we think that our service is great compared to what is normally a mediocre service. That's the norm. And then second, we provide flexible solutions to our customers who need different options other than just regular standard trash service. So for example, we provide valet service, which we'll see it on one of the next screens. We provide a valet service. So when a customer can't be there for trash pickup day, it's a short-term rental. The rental turns and trash pickup isn't for a week. They don't have to worry about bringing the bin out curbside and it's staying out curbside until that next pickup. We'll go pick that bin up for them. That's a huge, we probably have a 30-40% take rate in the county. We think the city would be just as much of a take rate for that kind of service. When we look at kind of the city contract, it's pretty sizable. It's not unmanageable, but it's sizable when we think about what kind of impact it could have in this area. You know, we think if we were to service the entire city plus kind of our current growth for the next year, we'd be investing $1 million or more annually with infrastructure and equipment. Our local salaries would go from what it is right now, which is around $300,000 to $400,000 a year. We think it jumped to $850,000 a year. Today we're spending probably $200,000 on local vendors, such as our tire shops, our mechanics when we can use local. When we're looking at parts stores, most of those are where we can in Aransas County. Right now, I think that's about $200,000 a year. We could easily support, or we'd easily need to double that number with something like a city contract. And then lastly, the local organizations. Right now, we give around $10,000 to $25,000 a year to local organizations such as Rockport Fulton Little League, Camp Aransas Zoo. We're going to be doing the parade for the Lamar Fire Department up here in a couple of weeks. We give those organizations. We give to the VFW because we believe in those. We believe in those organizations, and we think they make a difference. And right now, that's really not being done with what we have from our current provider, or pretty much any trash company in this area. Clayton mentioned a little bit about our background and our capabilities. What's interesting, when people think about a trash company, they don't realize that trash company is really just a trucking company that picks up trash. And so it's really just adding on trucks as needed. We pick up an area that's more than 500 square miles. The city of Rockport right now is only about 20 square miles, so we're close to 30 times. We're picking up a service area close to 30 times the current city area right now. our customer service, we're able to scale up. We have all local customer service here. We have the technology to do so. If we're talking about equipment, most of those are small lead time items. So I think kind of in general, we'd love to service the entire city. We think we can do it. We also have the capability to do it. But what kind of our ask here today is kind of as the city moves forward in considering their garbage collection options is, let's think about opening up to competition. And even if it's not necessarily a full-on open, are there some other ways to do it that also maybe helps out with kind of the city charter situation where not where the city charter doesn't necessarily allow for a single vendor to service an exclusive contract. You know, one option we thought about, and I'll let Clayton kind of get into this. We've talked to a couple of individual HOAs that say, hey, the city's service doesn't meet our requirements right now. Is there a way we can opt out? I'll let you talk about Keel Agro specifically. But lastly, just kind of in general, we're looking for a way for someone to compete that is capable of doing so. I think it'll help out with the accountability in general of the trash collection service right now. And then lastly, it allows potentially a local organization to continue to give back, ones that is capable of doing so, of actually servicing, to give back and compete on a head-to-head environment with the current provider. You want to talk about Keel Agro real quick? I think this could be an interesting option.
So I'm in Keel Agro, and I'm friends with everyone on the HOA and all the streets, and I've been a loud advocate about not having the cans in the street 200 days a year. When people pull them out on Sunday when they leave, which is 80%, I think your ward, Brad, it's 80% vacation homes, people pull them out Sunday at noon, lids are overflowing, they're out in the street, they're, half of the people don't know where to put them with their renters. Then the trash comes on Monday, and then the lawn men usually put them back, but the lawn men don't come until Fridays if they can do that so that they can have the yard fresh for the people that come down on the weekends. So just say half the cans sit out for half the year. That means we have to look at unsightly, unsanitary cans for like 150 days a year. There's cans in the street. I just think that it's 2023, that there's got to be a better way. And there is, and we provide it. In the reserve right now, I just drove through there on the way here from Houston, and there were no cans in the street in the entire neighborhood. Well, there were two, but they were from a vendor, a competitor that doesn't do the valet service. So all we're asking for really is a shot. We're a local company. We've been here. We won't let you down. All we're asking for is a shot in any capacity, whether that's the entire city, which we have no problem doing, or a portion of the city, or opt-outs for like HOA. Because the current service provider, they're great, I have nothing bad to say about them, they are unwilling and incapable of providing the service that some of these communities need. So if they're unwilling and unable to provide the service that the homeowners want for the choice for their neighborhood, I think we should allow those homeowners to have a choice, or the HOAs to have a choice, to pick something that fits the needs of their community versus one service for the entire city, because we are a very diverse community. So anyways, thank you for your time. All we want is a shot, and we won't let you down. Correct.
Thank you all very much.
Updated agreement with Little League for ball fields and the placement of batting cages at Memorial Park.
Mayor and Council, this agreement has been rolling over from year to year with the Little League group, and we have made a few changes just because of size, and they're going to be adding a little bit more equipment. So we've done some beefing up of the release of the city, basically on here, and the requirements for insurance. If you approve this tonight, I brought it because there is substantial changes that I really felt like you needed to see. Going forward, if you approve this tonight, we'll just sign on year after year unless there's substantial changes again. So this is really more of a heads up for you guys that we're making these changes. They are going to be putting the batting cages out there. We allow for that in here, and that's it. So staff doesn't have a problem with it. I think they've already done locations. I think everybody's ready to go.
Okay. And the Little League folks are happy with what we have in this agreement?
Okay. Well, I sent the agreement out to my parks, you've already looked at it? Okay, there you go, so. He said he's fine with it. Yeah. Yeah, they're fine with everything in the agreement. And there's, you know, if there's little tweaks to make it work, we're just gonna do that. I'm sorry?
Little tweaks can be made by staff.
Absolutely. Anything that I feel is not substantial, we'll just tweak it and make it work, you know, this is what our kids do, so we're gonna have it there for them. I just really feel like y'all needed to see the changes we were making.
I assume this has been through legal?
I'm sorry?
I assume this has been through legal?
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
That's
thank
where
you.
they came from.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Steve, does this need to go through the board, Little League board? If we pass it tonight, are we good to go? Are y'all good to go?
Well, once it passes here tonight, we're gonna decide which avenue. We've got two different bids. Yes, if it passes tonight, we didn't have a decision to make. I got two different bids of outside companies. They actually, the folks who did the high school city nets, the high school nets over at the park, at the high school. So I got two different bids from two separate companies that would then come and do all the installation for us. So it's pending approval here, then we'll make our decision and how to move forward. We're not, I mean, the timeline as far as how quick we're gonna get it done, that's gonna be determined at our board meeting, seeing how quick we wanna move it. Do we wanna start the process now because our season's fixing to begin? Or do we wanna wait? So the timeline hasn't been set in stone as far as when we'll begin construction, but that'll be determined in our board meeting. Okay.
The contract, Little League still, National Little League, they still provide the insurance. We're good on that. No-
That's correct.
No extra
Yeah,
incurred cost.
our insurance is updated annually, and any tweaks and changes are all addressed by Little League.
It's no increase,
Yes, we do.
no increased cost to the league.
No.
Okay. No further questions from me, sir. Anything else?
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 5 as presented.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or debate? Call for vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. The resolution passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item number 6, deliberate and act on resolution ordering a special election and establishing procedures for said election to be held Saturday, May 6, 2023. The special election shall be for the purpose of submitting to the qualified voters of the city one proposition to approve or reject, giving authorization to the City Council of the City of Rockport, Texas to sell the natural gas utility distribution system owned by the City of Rockport, Texas, providing other matters and relating to the special election, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this resolution is passed is open to the public as required by law.
Also. The resolution is in the agenda packet. It was prepared by legal services, so it meets all the requirements of statute. And this is in regard to the discussion the council has had several times on the sale of the natural gas system.
So this is just calling for the election to put it on the ballot. Yep.
Any questions from the council? If there are no questions, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve agenda item 6 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or debate? Not, would call for vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Resolution passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is item number 7. Deliberate and act on first reading of an ordinance ordering a special election and establishing procedures for said election to be held Saturday, May 6, 2023. The special election shall be for the purpose of submitting to the qualified voters of the city proposed charter amendments for their consideration, establishing early voting locations and polling places for the special election, providing other matters relating to the special election, providing for publication of the notice of the special election, providing for severability, finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law, and establishing an effective date.
We have Art Rodriguez online. I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear him, but Art, if you'll get started and if we can't hear you very well, then I'll jump in. Is that okay?
Okay, just let me know. Can y'all hear me okay?
Y'all hear? Y'all
Yep.
hear?
Yep.
Okay, so what's presented in front of you is an ordinance that took the final draft report from the Charter Review Commission and coalesced their comments as well as comments that we received from the City Council into an ordinance that we believe is what the City Council would like to consider in this matter. However, well, I understand that y'all had a public hearing at the last City Council meeting, and so we wanted to have an opportunity to talk with council to get their input to see if there are any changes or thoughts on what has been considered, and to proceed to send these ballot propositions to the voters. There are there's 23 propositions for consideration. It's a long process that we went through regarding making recommended changes with the Charter Commission, and most of those were, we put some of them together, some of them were standalone items, and just wanted to present that to y'all as to see how y'all wanted to proceed with respect to sending one or all of these propositions to an election.
Thank you. Anything further we need to consider?
No.
Any questions from the council?
I've got a few, of course, I've got a few questions.
Art, with this many propositions moving forward to a ballot, do you see an issue with that, there being 23 issues on a ballot?
No, not particularly, no. The local government code requires when you're going through a charter revision that there be it's a one issue per proposition matter that is presented to the voters. So it's difficult to clump some of these into much smaller or to have fewer ballot propositions than what we've got. If you've got just, a few changes that are being made, then, 4 or 5 may have been fine, but the quantity of the changes that were being recommended, it kind of necessitates this many. I have seen ballot propositions go up to well above 70 propositions that go to the voters. So 23 is not, that's not out of line with what similar types of elections for other communities.
I've received some feedback from constituents on some of the propositions and or proposed changes. But I guess before I get to that part would be, we are in compliance now with our chart. We have had the review, and so we're good if we do not call an election, correct?
Absolutely. We have met and we're in compliance with our charter as of today.
So as Mr. Kay pointed out, pumping the brakes is, we are in compliance. We've been out of compliance since 2008, so what is the rush? Okay, I'll get to some of the feedback I've received since the public hearing. One is going to be on 3.10, and it was the citizens to be heard and speaking on an agenda item. I do feel that, if we do have a contentious item, and if it's only during citizens to be heard that people get to talk, I may not remember what everyone said when it gets to that agenda item. It's just one of my concerns that if we just hear it at the beginning of the meeting, we may not remember what all was talked about. I don't know exactly what the best way to do that is, so you don't have an hour spent on agenda time. If we could limit somehow total minutes that are spoken. Second would be the supermajority on the annexation. We don't have a supermajority for passing our bonds or debt or borrowing money, but we're requiring a supermajority for annexation, disannexation. And then thirdly was the term limits and length of terms were some of the issues that I've heard from constituents. So I'd love to hear any thoughts from council in regards to those, or any other concerns y'all may have before I move forward with anything else.
What are the concerns you had with the term limits?
Some were 4 term limits, and others were, as the current charter is. They said, what was wrong with that? And then, but a lot of what I've heard was, well, the ballot box is truly the term limiter. If the person is not doing a good job, then they're terminated by the ballot.
Say that again? A lot of what you heard?
Correct. So
because we have removal of term limits.
Correct. So.
And are you wanting to add them back in?
No, ma'am. I was just giving some of the feedback that I received, is that part's good, but then the length of term, that wasn't recommended by the Charter Review Committee. They stuck with the 2 years. So when we added the 4 years in there, where did that come from? And that was more of a council discussion.
Right. That was your guys' direction to us at our last meeting, what the thought process was. At 2 years, you're just hitting your stride, and someone's always running for re-election. So that came directly from you guys.
I can speak for myself. What I had said about the 4-year term was, again, every 2 years you're literally getting in and out with new council people or not. It depends how they're doing. If you do have a council is doing these long-term projects or things that are happening, a lot of these things kind of get lost in the weeds if you're getting new people in every 2 years. Our commissioners do 4 years, and they do a lot of good work with each other, and they get to work together for those 4 years, and they get to, do what they're passionate about, what they're trying to handle. I just feel like after a year being on council, you're learning your place, you're kind of just getting in your seat. Then you have the year to have something done. A year can go by very, very fast, and you're not getting what you want to be done. 4 years gives you that time to get those things and to work with that council that you are with, and that's just how I feel about the things. But again, this is going to election, so yes, there's people who feel like we shouldn't have that, and there's people that feel we do. I want y'all to have that decision to feel like, do we need to have it or don't we? And if the majority of the town feels, no, I'm good with 2 years, I don't want term limits, or I'm good with 4 years, I want term limits, or whatever it works, I feel like that needs to be put out there so we can all make that decision, is how I was kind of stated on that decision. So
and we separated those items specifically so you could have 4 years and term limits, or 2 years and no term limits, or any combination of. So we did not lump those together. One is not contingent on the other, on the ballot.
I also add a comment on that. These ballot initiatives, the ballot propositions, are simply, these are our ideas, the people vote on them. I mean, you can say no, you can say no to everything. You can say yes to everything, you can mix it, you can match it. But we want you, this is an official way, official, accountable way of getting the people's opinions. So, just like Andrea said, is, well, you can vote for 2 years and no term limits, or 4 years and term limits, or any combination of them. That's your preference. You're the voter. We're just giving you the options. So you can vote yes, no, or choose not to vote at all. We're just giving you options on trying to make this a better place for everyone, including the city council.
And I guess, can I talk about the other 2 issues that you've heard from constituents? I have not had any actually comments from my constituents on my board, so I'm taking off of what you got. So the supermajority disannexation, that conversation came into play, and I know that was a big controversy, and coming to that, I mean, what I would like to see, and I don't think people came that across, is I would like to see what it would cost to give those people the utilities. I want to give them what they want, and if they can't have it, then they are able to not be part of the city anymore. If we can't afford to give it to them, that's what I would like to see, and I just want to make sure that's put out there. And with the supermajority, you can have a small neighborhood of 10 people, and say 4 people come into council, and it actually makes them easier for them to actually disannex, is be able to come in front of us and having us do the supermajority, because as of right now, I don't think they're able to do that.
So that was the point of that, was to make it easier to disannex. Instead of having to go to the voters to disannex, this council could vote by supermajority to let them do that without having to petition and go to the voters. The point was to make it easier.
For people to do that if we can't give them the utilities that they were actually promised.
Right, the discussion was utilities overall, but the point was to make it easier if you weren't receiving what you thought you should receive. By
being able to go to the council and having this majority vote, because as of right now, we can't do that. You have to go to the voters to get disannexed.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
so
you can take it out, but then you gotta go, you gotta petition, you gotta go to the ballot, you gotta do everything.
So I'd rather have the people who are not able to get their utilities be able to come in front of us. And I think it should take supermajority, because if 3 out of 5 of us say, sure, and there's 5 people who want it and 5 don't, then those 5 people are, I mean, they're kind of left behind. So I feel like it needs to be a supermajority vote on that decision. Because that's a very big deal to take someone out of the city if half the town, if half their little area doesn't want to be done there. So that's my thought process on that, and I just wanted to clarify that it actually does make it, again, easier for people to disannex by doing that and putting that into the charter. On speaking on the agenda item, I'm not 100% against having people speak in front of the agenda item, but it has to be productive. And again, with Robert's rules, it's up to the chair. I mean, to the end of the day, that's what's going to be up to. Even if I want to make sure that's clarified. Even if that was put in there, if we have a new mayor or somebody comes in, can he make a decision to put that in front of the agenda? So he has to follow.
It would be set in stone.
That'd be something that does need to be clarified. So
I can make a suggestion if you like. Or I can sit here and be quiet, but the way it is, it leaves it up to the chair. So the next chair can do it however he wants, and 10 years down the road, that chair can do it how they want. You have the opportunity as a council member to speak to your chair about what you would like to see. So that's, in my mind, how that should work. It is up to the chair, but, you know, he's got 4 other people there, and I'm sure he's willing to listen. But
so the wording that we're putting in the charter, what I'm trying to understand is, it's still, even after that, is it up to the chair, that set in stone, that people can't speak in front of agenda items?
No, it's up to the chair the way it is written.
The way it is written.
The way it is written in this document in front of you.
Okay. So if I could add something, if you don't mind. You've also got the city at one point, it looks like the last amendment was in 2005, adopted a code of conduct and rules for meetings and order of business that's in chapter 2 of your city code. So while, just remember, what is being considered here is just what would be in your charter. The council still has the ability to adopt their own rules that by ordinance, which is what y'all have done in chapter 2 of your city code. So whether this appears in a charter provision or y'all can always make a different decision in your code of ordinances on how to conduct city business at city meetings in the future.
But wouldn't that create a situation where the charter conflicted with the code of ordinances?
Right. Well, I mean, at this point, no, there isn't. I mean, but the charter the way the charter currently reads,
right?
And then you read it with the ordinance. What I'm saying is, is that the comment was made when there's a new chair comes in, new things can different rules of order could be adopted, And the answer is yes. Y'all actually have that currently right now in your, in chapter 2 of your code of ordinances.
Because our charter is open.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's clarified, because I don't want it to be, I mean, the chair, in any kind of board or commissions you're on, usually the chair has the ability to make the decision on how it works. And yes, you have the council that can direct them in a different way, of course. But I don't want to have that ability taken away. Say if we have a new mayor or some chair comes in and he can't, you know, rearrange the way he wants to be able to have those meetings work. That's all I really have to say on those 3 things. I have a couple of comments after that, but I want to make sure y'all have your comments on what the questions were here.
I agree with what Andrea had to say about the charter, and then what Art had to say about Code of Ordinance, Chapter 2. That's it. I agree.
Okay.
The situation has been in the past where in council meetings, there were council meetings that got out of control, and there were people who were verbally attacked when people had an option of talking at any point through a council meeting. And during the time that there was an election being prepared and people were talking about what we would do to change that, I made a decision that if it were to happen where I were to be elected, that we would have courteous and respectful council meetings. What I decided that would require was that people talk at a particular point in there, and not all throughout the meeting, but they do have a right. The people have a right to give their opinion in public meetings, and we need to see that they get to do that, but not at just any point, and not when they want to stand up and talk out of order. And this was what was going on, and in moving the time to one point where it was not going on all throughout the meeting, the meetings have been more respectful, and I've had a lot of comments from people that told me that they liked the council meetings much more than they did then, and the only change is at the point where they can talk and how long you get to talk. And so as the chair, I have instructed the staff at the time that this change was made that was my decision. By ordinance, I have a right to make that decision. Under Robert's Rules of Order, I have a right to make that decision. It was not the fault of the other council people, the city staff, or anyone else. It was after reviewing Robert's Rules of Order and the things I had told people we would do to have control of council meetings. That's what we were going to do. And I'm in favor of that. Any other question or discussion?
I do have a question. So if we do pass this tonight, I would like to know just a little bit more of detail on how we're going to get this out to the citizens, and how they can, in ways that they're going to be able to learn what is going to be on the ballot and how they can get information. I think that's going to be really important, because the more citizens we get out to, the better outcome we get out of this vote, and know what actual city, residents want to have happen.
So today, to Art and Kimberly and Teresa, I sent out a draft. It's 6 pages. It's pretty long, but it has every article, what the proposed change is, and why. What is the reason? Why is this on the ballot is what it says. So it's about 6 pages. These guys are proofreading it. I've asked Mike for a page in the paper. He didn't really answer me, but I figure if we pay him, he'll go for it. So of course we'll put that on the website, we'll put it on the paper, and it's gonna be kind of a handout. You guys can have it. And again, I'll go talk anywhere. So I'll show up to every group and talk about them. Our position is neutral, and everything that we put out is neutral, and I'm fine with that, but we've got to make a push and get it out.
I also just want to make a comment on to you. If anyone in the town of Rockport has any questions or anything, I know all of us council are very involved in, we have emails, we have phone numbers, we're available, and please ask and call and email. We're here to answer your questions as best as we can, and just please don't be afraid to do that, because this is very important, and we want to make sure that we get you guys the information that you need so you can make the right decision on when you go out to the ballot. So I just want to make sure that comment's out there.
Staff as well.
Yeah.
Danielle, did you have any statements you wish to make? With you out there on the screen, I overlooked you.
It's okay. Thank you very much, Mayor, for the opportunity to speak. I think that all the comments that have been provided by the other council members are exceptionally valid. To speak to the de-annexation piece, that supermajority recommendation, I think, is valid. It should be noted on record that the intent is to allow for de-annexation. The intent of the amendments are to clarify the process to allow for that and to ensure that the rights and privileges of the residents, not only in the area at question, but also those in the remaining part of the city, have the opportunity to weigh in on that. Allowing a quicker path to de-annexation comes with great responsibility to the city council members, and having 3 of 5 making that decision, I feel, is probably not in the best interest of the community in whole. So I support the supermajority, understanding that that's within the context of a path to de-annexation, and something that we all, I believe, feel is important. With regards to term limits and length, I'm going to piggyback on with Councilwoman Jackson. This is one of those opportunities where the voters are just going to have an opportunity to make the decision. I don't believe that there's a strong consensus one way or the other as far as whether we should leave it the same or change it. There's been a lot of valid arguments on both sides, and I think this process of taking it to the voters is prudent, and to give them the chance to make that decision. And I'm proud to be able to allow that. Art or staff, if you would, to comment on why we're pushing this forward. I know we've talked about this in the past, but my understanding is the reason we have to make these decisions today is to be able to make the May special election. If we don't piggyback on the May election and we choose to put a special election sometime else on the calendar, we have to pay for that. Our other option would be to delay this charter vote, if you will, to next May. So if Art or somebody, if you could please just, for the sake of all of us, remind us why we're pushing forward on this current schedule.
So if I might, February 17th is the last date upon which the city can make a decision as to what's going to be on a May agenda. A May election. And this, so in order to make the 2 reading requirement, we needed to have the meeting today for y'all to consider it. And then the charter requires a 7-day wait period. So we've got until your February 14th, which is your next regular council meeting. That satisfies the 7-day wait period. It'll let y'all have that second reading, because this is the statute does require this election to be established by ordinance as opposed to by resolution. So we needed that extra time, and in order to make that February 17th deadline, we needed to have this meeting in order to comply not only with the state law, but also with your charter requirements for passage of an ordinance.
Neil, you're correct. If we wait until November, it'll be at a substantially higher cost. Otherwise, we would need to wait a full year, which there's no harm in that either, if that's what you guys want to do. We just have a short time limit to make this one. If not, I really feel like we have to wait a whole year, because the cost will be substantial enough that we would probably need to delay it a few more months.
Thank you, Art, and thank you, Vanessa, for that explanation. For me personally, I don't think the extra expense makes sense to us. And when in doubt, I say put it in the hands of our voters and our constituents. So no further comments from me, Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other comments?
Mayor, may I speak to my council rep before you finish discussion?
No, sir, you'd be out of order. Council, is there any other discussion or question? Do I have a motion?
Mayor, may I allow the constituent to speak? May I allow a constituent to speak?
You can take a recess.
You want?
You can take a recess and they can go outside or whatever.
Mayor, I request five.
That's what I'm asking for.
5-minute recess.
Recessed until 7:40, 10 minutes. Have any further discussion or comment?
The Charter Review Committee, what they submitted as far as that one item, the speaking item, we struck it. My concern of it, putting it in the charter is that it hamstrings future councils, but that was the Charter Review's recommendation.
So I feel like it was important to the citizens on there. So I would like to discuss that just a little bit more. If not, then we can move forward.
Any other discussion from other council members regarding this particular item?
I mean, we'll have to discuss it a little bit further, I guess. So striking that, again, does it hurt the future? I mean, that's...
It binds them to what you've voted for, yes.
So any other chairmans or anything like that binds it to that. So if they want, I want citizens to be able to read in front of agenda, they can't do that.
Say that again. I'm sorry. If you want citizens to
read in front of the agenda and not just that citizens be heard, if that is stricken out, they can't do that in future.
You can leave it like it is, which is what we're proposing, we're proposing no change.
So leaving so they can speak in front of the agenda is what we're proposing.
If you put in what the commission reviewed, what the commission put forward, then you have to allow every citizen to speak at citizens to be heard and before every agenda item.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, your proposal is to leave it as it is. Or the proposal in front of you is to leave it as it is.
And to explain that, that is to leave it up to the chair to make that decision.
Yes.
It's not to just be on citizens to be heard.
It is up to the chair. We do have an ordinance. We can revisit the ordinance. I just suggested to Brad, if you're not happy with the way it's done, that you go visit with the chair and look for a solution. But I don't think the charter is the appropriate spot to put formalities of running a meeting in.
Because our city charter likes to follow Robert's Rules of Order.
It allows you to make that choice.
It allows you to make the choice.
Yes.
Without doing that, then you can't make that choice.
You can't make that choice. You would have to do these two things on at least citizens to be heard. The next mayor can follow Kimberly's rule of kindness if that's what they choose, the way it's written.
Okay. Just trying to clarify that. So if Mayor Jarrell comes to the next meeting, I wouldn't want them to speak in citizens be heard and in front of, this passed, and citizens voted for it.
Nothing's going to the vote. There's no vote on this item.
No, I know this is not a vote. What I mean is this hypothetical decision. So if this went to vote and passed, are changes that we recommend, and Jarrell's like, okay, well, I want them to read in front of the citizens to be heard and on front of the agenda items, he can still have the ability to do that.
Correct. He can come in here and change the rules for speaking every meeting.
But we're trying to leave it up to the chair, is what we wanted to propose. I'm just making sure this is very clarified. And
that's the information that we received as direction from you.
In the commission, or the commission wanted.
The commission has it a little different, where you can speak 2 times or multiple times. So, but what's in front of you is nothing, is no change.
Just leaving it the way it was originally in the charter.
Right, which says reasonably, citizens must be given the opportunity to be reasonably heard or something like that. I mean, I can find it exactly, but I'm not that fast.
The city council shall determine its own rules of order and business, and the rules shall provide that the citizens of the city shall have a reasonable opportunity to be heard at any meeting with regard to any matter under consideration. The city council shall provide for minutes to be taken, blah, blah, blah. And that's straight out of the Open Meetings Act and in alliance with the Attorney General opinion KP 300. And Art, I think I'm right on that. Am I right on that?
You are.
Thank you.
Art, can you take do you have article 2 of our ordinances handy to you?
Chapter 2.
I do.
Chapter 2.
Yes.
In there, can you tell us what it states?
Yes, it allows for citizens' comments for a 3-minute time limit per speaker. with a total time of 30 minutes. It does make an exception for public hearing. There is an additional opportunity for persons to speak at a public hearing that's different from the citizen comment portion of it. The way Mayor J-Ro has been conducting the meeting is in compliance with your order of business under section 2-31 of your current code of ordinances.
That total of 30 minutes is for all speakers, not individually.
Yes, 3 minutes per speaker, total of 30 minutes.
So, it sounds like to me that there might be a issue, we need to maybe look at the ordinance itself and.
If you want to change the ordinance, that's.
No, I'm not saying we want to change it, but then we need to maybe overlook that if there's issues with how citizens are speaking in front of, if they feel like they're not getting.
Or we could
time.
have a civil conversation with Mayor J-Ro and find a solution that works better for whomever.
I'd like to suggest we have a workshop on the chapter 2 on conducting the meeting.
Well, our whole chapter 2 needs to be reviewed anyway, so I think a chapter 2 workshop is fantastic.
Because then that way we can bring up everything and all of that, talk about it, discuss it.
Right.
And such. Because as you said, and as Art said, right now, according to the code of ordinances, each citizen can speak for up to 3 minutes, and citizens to be heard is up to 30 minutes. That's it. So right now, it's more restrictive than anything else.
If you have 30 people here, they get 1 minute apiece.
Yep.
Total.
Okay, so now that you've stated that, now, sorry, my brain's not working. So I guess maybe I might have concerns with if it's only up to 30 minutes for citizens to be heard, if they can't speak of agenda, say if 35 people come in, they each speak for a minute, then 5 people can't even speak to agenda item?
Or they would get 45 seconds each, whatever you want to. So I think revisiting chapter 2 is probably reasonable.
And that definitely needs to be a workshop, because that's not a quick conversation.
Yeah, that's not a quick
No,
conversation.
so let's go back to this. Okay, so I have made the point, I have not heard much from my constituents on either or. You have obviously heard from yours quite a bit. Is this, and this is my question, is there a vast majority of people in your ward that are really concerned about this? I mean, if they are, I mean, that's something to consider, because I haven't heard anything from my side of my ward, so I can't put it.
We all
my
have
thought
about
on that.
2,000 people in your ward,
So,
Yeah.
weigh
yeah.
I mean, if it's
I'm just getting
20%
consensus
or
of what is-
30%, then
is it a general big concern for you with your ward, is what I'm asking?
I think it'd both be, yes, probably not hearing from 2,000 people, that's for sure. Haven't heard from 2,000 people on anything really, but just limiting the ability to speak, and then that was the concern. On subsection, let's see, go back to 2.31, subsection C3.
did you hear that, Art?
I heard his direction to C3 in that, but.
Okay, say that again.
2.31, subsection C3.
Okay.
Is there a conflict here between the ordinance and then what we are in the charter currently?
No, you mean the way the charter currently reads? No, I don't believe there's a conflict. But let me double check that, and I don't believe that there's a conflict now.
Any further question or discussion?
No, sir.
Do I have a motion?
Wait,
Yeah.
make sure Danielle wants to say something on that.
She's gone.
Is she
Oh, I
up?
see her up there.
She's up there.
Danielle, we skipped you. I see you just a little bit.
It's okay, no, I'm good. I definitely agree that we probably as a group need to revisit, just generally how we wish to conduct our meetings. I don't believe anything that we're doing, has any intent to limit public participation. I think that, ordinance is a great place for this. There were several other places in the charter recommendations that, allowed us to do things via ordinance, and that's been the customary way of doing business. So I think I'm comfortable with what the current recommendation is, and that is a no change.
Anyone else? One more time, do we have a motion? One way or the other.
I move to act on the first reading of an ordinance ordering a special election and establishing procedures for said election to be held on Saturday, May 6th, 2023.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'm going to second it.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any other further debate or comment?
I just want to make sure that everyone still understands this is going to vote. This doesn't mean this is happening. So if you guys are disagreeing with this, go to your voting and get your votes out so you understand what you want in the city to happen. I just want to make sure that's very clear. This is not signed, sealed, and delivered.
You're not voting anything on here into law.
No.
That's right.
And we can amend on second reading, correct?
You can.
You can.
Is there further debate or question? If not, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Final item on the agenda. If there's nothing else to be brought before the council, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
I had a question for both Art and Vanessa before we adjourn.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I think
He may have, you should be able to answer the question. I just figured Art might want to put his 2 cents in. When this, if we pass the second reading, right, and this goes to ballot, the running rules, as I understand them, for both the city council and the city staff, is we can only speak factual. We cannot campaign one way or the other.
Nope.
Okay, so that's on the record, so everybody knows. We can give facts. We cannot campaign for or against anything on that ballot, the entire thing.
Don't ask our opinion, we don't have one.
Right, okay, I just wanted it to be on the record.
Ward 1. Are we through? I just need to hear from us. Are we
Second, we
going
have a
to
second.
adjourn? You're just good at the motion to adjourn.
Oh,
I think we're just done.
second, we just need a
I have a
second.
motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned at 7:54.
Thank you, sir.